So I think we'll make a start because we've only got half an hour tonight. So I don't want to waste too much time, but I'll keep letting people in as we get along. So thank you again for taking the time out of your evening. We really, really do appreciate it. My name is Malika, and we are here tonight with BP. We have the lovely early careers team made up of Rupali and Robin, who are going to be taking you through the very important step in all of your apprenticeship applications, and provide all the helpful hints, tips and tricks that BP are looking for you to make a successful application. And we are also joined by Tom, who is a BP apprentice, and he is also going to go through his journey and provide you guys with a little insight into what life at BP is like. So like I said, please feel free to pop a little hello in the chat and as many questions as you do have, as we will be answering them throughout, and I will be sharing that with the team at BP post the webinar. This webinar will also be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel at Success at School tomorrow morning, so please feel free to rewatch it as many times as you'd like. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Rupali.
Thanks, Ellie. Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good evening. And yeah, just once again, I just want to say thank you for sort of taking the time to join us today. So yeah, my name's Rupali, and I'm one of the senior early careers advisors here at BP. And I look after our HR and our digital apprenticeship programs. I'm also joined by my colleague Robin, who's also a senior early careers advisor. And she looks after the other half of the apprenticeship programs. I don't know, Robin, if you just want to quickly say what you look after.
Hello, yeah, of course, no problem at all. So I look after some business, so data insights and finance. I look after science, so I've got some lab tech roles. I look after trading and shipping and engineering.
Great, thanks, Robin. So I'm just going to quickly go through what we're going to talk about today, because I know that we're a little bit limited with time, and I don't want to keep you all too long. So in a moment, I'm just going to go through very quickly about BP and who we are, and just talk a little bit about our values and our behaviours. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the early careers opportunities that we have here at BP, and then sort of delve into the recruitment process. I'll talk a little bit about the online assessment process and our on-demand video interview process. So just sharing some hints and tips, and just so you know what to expect. We've also, as you heard, got one of our apprentices, Tom, here today. So we'll also hear from him in terms of his journey, what he's been up to, and also hopefully at the end we'll have a little bit of time for some questions. Just to make clear, if you have already submitted an application, unfortunately, we can't answer any individual queries about your application. However, obviously, you're more than welcome to drop us an email afterwards. Please feel free to use the chat function, which Robin will be keeping an eye on for any questions you have as I'm going through the presentation slides. So also, I'm going to warn you in advance, apologies if it sounds like I'm talking really quickly. I just want to try and get through the slides as quick as possible so that we have as much time as possible for questions at the end. Okay, so BP, who are we? So with BP, when you're sort of doing any research in terms of, depending on what stage you are at the application, whether it's the online assessments or whether it's a video interview, or even if you've been invited in for one of our assessment centres, it's really important to have a look at our values. So these are the values that define us, what we stand for, what is important to us, and have a think about how these values possibly align with your personal values. But it's a really good place to start in terms of doing your research on the organisation, and a really good way to kind of share with us why you've applied for BP or why you've applied for one of our particular programs. So the main three things that we sort of kind of stand by is live our purpose, play to win, and care for others. So as you can see that these are broken down into sort of safety comes first, make a positive impact, do the right thing, also know the competition, keep improving, be accountable, and be kind, prioritize the team, and put yourself in other people's shoes. So you'll see as you go through our recruitment process that a lot of our questions, a lot of our scenarios are based around these values. So it'd be really helpful for you to sort of really get on board and understand what this means for us and for yourself. So the current opportunities here at BP. So we have, as you already have heard from both of us, that there's a number of different apprenticeship opportunities available. So we've got P&C, which is HR. We've got digital, business, engineering and trading and shipping. And then also there's finance that you heard Robin mention earlier. But we'll share the link of the website at the end. So feel free to have a browse. I do want to make a note that you can only apply for one role. So make sure you do your research first before you submit an application. We are open until the end of the year and possibly in the new year. However, what I would say is try and apply for anything as soon as possible, because we do recruit on a rolling basis, so we could close at any time. Salaries range from 19,600 up to 24,100, depending on whether you apply for a level 3 apprenticeship programme or a degree apprenticeship programme. All our early careers cohort, once they join us in September 2024, they receive a £3,000 one-off sign-on bonus in their first month's salary. Another benefit that we also offer is a wellbeing allowance of £1,500 a year. So this sort of can cover anything like a gym membership or a massage or, you know, a spa day, whatever you want to do in terms of your wellbeing. You're also able to choose 20% flexible benefits of your base salary as well. So it's completely up to you how you want to take that, whether you want to take a cash lump sum, whether you want to put some towards your pension, whether you want to do stocks, completely up to you. But this is something that you have an option to do as well. On top of the sort of salary benefits, you also get 28 days annual leave. And we're also able to flex any bank holidays that we have on top of that. So say, for example, you wanted to move one of your days, your bank holidays, and you wanted to work instead. As long as you speak to your manager, this is something that you have an option to do. We also offer 2 wellbeing days. And then we also provide an environment with sort of kind of supportive environment with buddies and mentors. So you really know and so are supported when you come and join us in the world of work. We have many clubs and societies as well, which I'm always hearing about. So if there's anything that you're interested in outside of work in the evenings, any particular sort of hobbies that you have that you want to sort of continue with, that's also an option here at BP. All our programs last between 2 and 4 years. So again, this is dependent on whether you choose a foundation role or you go for one of our degree options. Just want to highlight at this point, for T&S, the salaries are slightly different. So salary for T&S, trading and shipping, starts from 30,800. So just something to bear in mind when having a look at what opportunities we have available. So the recruitment process. So some of you may know this already, but initially it's a 4-stage process, and initially you just need to complete a short questionnaire. So we just want to check your eligibility for the role, just make sure that you meet the requirements for the programme that you've applied for. So any requirements will be stated on each of the job descriptions. Once you've passed the initial stage, the next stage is the online assessments. So as I mentioned, these are going to be aligned to our values and our behaviours here at BP. So it's definitely worth doing your research. I'd also say do some practice online as well beforehand, just to sort of build your confidence. Then the next stage is the online on-demand video interview. So this is where we will assess your sort of motivation. So it's just to bring your application to life, understand why you've applied, why BP, why this particular programme. And then the final stage is one of our assessment centres in one of our offices. So depending on what role you've applied for, you will come into one of our offices and there'll be a number of different activities that you'll take part in. And you'll also get an opportunity to talk to people from the business and also meet with current apprentices that have been in the business for about 6 to 9 months and just hear from them what they've been up to and what their day is like. So it's a really nice day, and it's not just about us getting to know you, but also for you to get to know us a little bit better. So online assessments. So I've sort of touched upon this a little bit. So you'll get 3 different assessments that will be sent to you that do need to be completed within a set time frame, which will be stated on your email. So make sure you just make a note of this if you're planning to do this over the weekend or when you've got a little bit more time. So there's a behavioural assessment. So this just helps us to understand how you work, how you process things, what your thought process might be, and just to sort of understand a little bit about how you deal with certain scenarios. This is not a timed assessment. The next assessment would be a situational judgment questionnaire. So this is more based on sort of situations that take place in the workplace. So it's just to sort of understand how well you align to our culture. So again, to kind of see what similarities we possibly have in terms of what our values and behaviours are and how they might align to your personal values and behaviours. And then the final test is a logical reasoning test. So this is a time test. So again, this is where I think it's really helpful to do a little bit of practice beforehand, just literally having a look online. And this is just to, again, understand what level you're at in terms of your studies, what you've been doing at school or college. Okay, so I've spoken a little bit about practicing. So we're not looking for perfection, you know, we're not looking for people that know it all and have all the answers straight away. But we just want to try and make sure that you do your very best and try and help you and support you with that. So this is where I think practicing beforehand online is really helpful in just sort of building your confidence and just sort of understanding what might be expected of you. Just sort of you're not going into it completely blind. So our on-demand video interview. So there's a number of questions that we ask you once you get to this stage. And like I said, this is to bring your application to life a little bit. So what we will do is we will ask you to record your responses. So it approximately takes about 30 minutes to do. And there will be typically about 8 questions that have been pre-recorded that we will ask you. So we just want to know about your motivation. Why have you applied for BP? Why have you applied for this particular apprenticeship programme? And we just want you to sort of bring that to life a little bit. So you can use any examples that you've possibly stated on your application form or anything that you've put in your CV or a covering letter that you've uploaded, but just want to understand a little bit more about what you've done. You can also use something called the STARS technique to structure your answers. So this is a really good method to use when just sort of kind of storytelling, just to make sure that you get all the relevant details in. So I've mentioned about doing research regarding our values and our behaviours. I would also say have a look at our social media. So have a look in terms of what projects have we been working on? What is our mission statement? What are we focused on at the moment? So if you've got a LinkedIn profile, I would say that would be really a good time to utilise that and have a look and see what else we've been involved in, just to give you that extra edge when you're sort of kind of talking about yourself within the video interview process, or even if you make it to our assessment centre. Also, make sure that before you do record any of your answers, just to read the job description again, just so you're familiar with what's expected, what the role actually involves, and again, have a think about examples that possibly align to what you've been doing at school, that shows your motivation and the reason why you've particularly applied for this programme. So I mentioned the STARS technique. So again, this is something what I would recommend is probably Googling again, just to sort of kind of when you've got a little bit more time to make a note in terms of how it works exactly. So STARS stands for situation, task, action, result, and self. And it's just about sort of really, like I said, it's a technique to use to sort of storytell any examples that you think you want us to know that will help you stand out, that will showcase your interest, that will help us understand why you've applied for BP and our programmes. So what do we want to know? So we're not looking for tons of experience. You know, that's not the main thing for us. The main thing for us is to find out, you know, why have you applied for something? What have you done at school or college, or even outside of school and college, that showcases your genuine interest? You know, we want to know why you're enthusiastic. We want to hear about possible ideas that you might have. So have a think about sort of, one thing I would say, a top tip is to write down any examples. So things that you think you want us to know. I know that sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's difficult to remember everything, or, you know, you could walk away from a situation thinking you preferred one example to another. So I would say take some time in advance to sort of make notes. It's not an exam, so you're more than welcome to bring in notes with you. So think about sort of any work experience that you had. Think about, you know, roles and responsibilities, and think about sort of how you applied your skills and knowledge in a certain situation. This is also an opportunity to think about what you did. So as much as we're very much focused on teamwork, we also want to hear what your personal contribution is. So take the opportunity to do that. Other experiences could also include extracurricular activities, so things that you do outside of school and college, things that you're involved in, clubs, projects. So again, anything else that you think is relevant that you would like us to know that sort of highlights your motivation or your skill set. And we also tend to ask a few competency-based questions. So we're just looking to understand what you done in the past, you know, to demonstrate to us that, yeah, this person has a genuine interest in this business area, and this is how they've showed us. So yeah, something to think about. So that's enough from me. I'm going to now hand it over to Tom, who's one of our apprentices that joined us this year, who's just going to talk a little bit about his journey. But yeah, over to you, Tom.
Lovely, thank you very much. So yeah, I'm Tom. I'm currently in aviation doing the sales, marketing and customers degree apprenticeship. So I finished high school and took my A-levels. I took BTEC business, A-level biology and A-level PE. And during the course of them 2 years at A-levels, I kind of realized that maybe the traditional university approach maybe wasn't for me. And I started looking at degree apprenticeships, and I went through loads. I applied for loads, and I eventually found BP. And I did a lot of research into the company, and they turned out to be a really good apprenticeship provider. So eventually, as I said, I did go for the aviation degree one, and I went to the assessment centre, and I was absolutely blown away about how amazing it was. I came out of it feeling so, the words can't describe it, but the campus was amazing. The people were lovely. I felt so positive coming out. Even if I didn't even get the job, I had such a great experience in the interview. I met loads of great people during it. I eventually went on to finish my A-levels, and in the summer I met all of the other apprentices that were joining BP at a connection event on campus, and I just had such a great time socializing with them. Free food, free burgers. I mean, what could go wrong with that? I mean, it was brilliant. And then, so I've been in the role for around 3 months now. I started in September, and I'm originally from a really small little village in Suffolk. And obviously, being from the countryside, there's not a lot of opportunities for me there. So I moved down to London, to Sunbury, where I am now, where the office of BP is. And it was I'm just going to talk about my experience a little bit, just starting out. It was, and still is, a really challenging time, kind of coming down on my own, 18 years old, moving out on my own. And of course, that doesn't apply to all of you. Some of you will be relatively local to your offices. But for me, starting in the corporate world at such a young age is a really, really big challenge. And you have to be really mature in the way you interact with other people in the offices. But honestly, I'm so glad I did it. I mean, earning a salary, getting a free degree, and getting, at least for me, 4 years work experience. I know it'll be different for everyone else, but it will just increase my capabilities in the workplace so much, and really excel my career really quickly into the future compared to the traditional university route. And that's all from me.
Great. Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate that. And I'm really pleased to hear that you had a good experience. And I know that was definitely down to Robin. So yeah, so that's one thing I will say that we're very focused on, regardless of whether you're successful or not. We hope that you have a good day with us and that you learn a lot from us. That's what we want, is that you walk away either hoping you apply again if you're not successful, or at least hopefully we can help you along your journey. So we do have now some time for questions. So whether they're questions for myself and Robin or for Tom, feel free to sort of pop them on the chat or take yourself off mute. But yeah, we're here now at your disposal in terms of any questions. So I'll just give you a minute to have a think. And I don't know if there's any other that have come up behind the scenes.
Yeah, so there has been a couple that have come directly to me. I think they use the sort of Q&A function. So the first one that we do have is for Tom, and it was, for your application, how did you practice? What did you do to prepare?
Yeah, so for me, research the company a lot. I can't explain how much you should research. I mean, if you really want the job and you've put all that effort in throughout the application, I mean, it's a lot of writing and a lot of, if you want the job, you have to put in the effort pretty much, and you have to do the research. And also another thing, as you guys previously mentioned, is really practicing questions they could ask. At least for me, I applied for a lot of different companies and eventually chose BP. And a lot of the companies do use the same questions. So just practice lots of situational based questions. So tell me about a time you've done so and so. Tell me if this happened, how did you get through it? And then link in examples with either your work experience or your part-time job or school.
Fab. And then the next one that we've got is, I think for Rupali probably, the first stage of when you do apply, you mentioned sort of an online questionnaire. One of the students was asking if you could just go into a little bit more detail as to sort of what's asked.
Yeah, so it's a very basic questionnaire, and that's the reason why we're calling it a questionnaire, because we don't want to sort of scare anyone and say it's an application form, because it actually shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, but it's literally just to get your contact information, upload your CV, and then just find out what grades you have. So for some of our roles, we do have some particular requirements. For all our apprenticeship programs, we do need a maths and English GCSE or equivalent. So it's just to make sure that, depending on the program you've applied for, that you meet the requirements, because of course some of you may possibly be going to university, so it will be the equivalent of UCAS points, but it's literally just basic information to make sure that we're happy to progress your application to the next stage.
Fab. And then another one.
Yeah. Sorry, Malika, I would just add to that. On your application questionnaire, make sure that you do enter all of your qualifications and your grades or predicted grades into the questionnaire. Don't rely on the fact that it's on your CV as well. As for our programs where we have a lot of applicants, that can be the difference of us spotting you or not. So it's a little bit of extra typing for you, but it means that you get credit for what you do have or are going to have.
Great. And then we've got a couple in the chat. And the main one is about sort of how the degree apprenticeship sort of works. So do you get to pick what uni you go to? And then sort of as a follow-up, maybe Tom, this could be for you. Why did you sort of choose the degree apprenticeship route rather than sort of going straight to uni?
Do you want me to answer both, or?
Yeah, whoever.
So if you could get to pick which university you go to, I'd go straight to Cambridge or something like that. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I mean, I don't think you do get to pick which university you go to. I mean, obviously, the university depends which apprenticeship you go through. And why I went a degree apprenticeship, I mean, for me personally, I'm not an academic, pretty much. I don't enjoy that traditional kind of learning atmosphere. I kind of realized during A levels that sitting down on a desk, just writing and just trying to memorize for my exams is not a way I want to learn. And I realized I'd be paying a lot of money to go to university. Like I'd end up with 60 grand worth of debt for something that I'm not even enjoying that much. And I weighed up the pros and cons a lot. I really did consider going to university, but I realized the main reason why I wanted to go was for the social life, for the parties and things like that. And I just kind of realized that that's not a valid reason to go. And with a degree apprenticeship, you know, as I said, you get a free degree, you get a great salary, you get to meet like-minded people that want to progress their career. You get 4 years work experience, and that means at the end of the 4 years, you're more competitive than a uni student would be, because you've got this 4 years work experience behind you to back up anything you do. But I'm just conscious of time, so I won't waffle on any longer.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting. And then we've actually got quite an interesting question here. So we've got someone who is a year 12 student, and they're really interested in chemical engineering. And they've asked sort of, is there anything that you would recommend to put in their application? But perhaps we could sort of rephrase that and sort of, Tom, when you were applying, what was your sort of strategy when you were looking to make that application as to what you did want to include? Did you sort of have work experience that you included? Did you look at sort of what after school activities you did and use the STAR method? If you've got any tips and tricks, that's always useful.
Yeah, so it was a long time ago, so my memory's a bit of a sieve. But so obviously school you want to put in a bit, but mainly you want to put about why you've applied for this specific program. So say I applied for a business and like sales and marketing, and that's something I'm really interested in. So I did some work experience with Bosch outside just for a week, just kind of learning a bit about that. And I also tried to build my own little like marketing agency business a while back, just in the summer, because I was bored. So I put that in as well. So just do things that just make you look good, pretty much. Do things that align with the apprenticeship you're going for.
Great, thank you. And then another question is sort of, Rupali, if you could just go into sort of the different levels that you offer. Seems to be quite a few questions about that. And if you do offer work experience as well.
Yeah, so I'll answer the quick one first. Unfortunately, we don't have any work experience opportunities at the moment, but of course keep an eye on our website, because we do have things like discovery weeks, where you get a chance to sort of get an insight into the business. But just again, check what the eligibility is for that before you submit an application. But that can be found on our website. In terms of the different levels, so we've got a level 3 foundation apprenticeship program, level 4 foundation, and then the level 6 degree apprenticeship program. So the level 3 and the level 4 are 2 years. The level 6 is a 4-year program. And then you have to be 18 once you join us, so September 2024. However, for the level 3 and the level 4, we usually require at least GCSE qualifications or equivalent, whereas for the degree apprenticeship programs, we're looking for A levels or equivalent. There is no age limit in terms of how old you are when you join us, so just something to think about as well. But we can't accept anyone that's already got a degree, unfortunately. So just in case, if you do have a degree and you're interested in joining us, you can have a look at our website and have a look at our graduate opportunities.
Great. And then we do have another question that's just come in. And this is again for Tom. We'll do 2 more questions as I'm conscious of time. But this first question is, how do you manage the work study sort of lifestyle? Is it flexible? Do you have a study day? Is it block release? How does that sort of work? And how do you sort of personally manage that workload?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the wrong person to ask, because for me specifically, my degree doesn't start till January. But with a lot of like my engineer friends, they've already started theirs, and theirs is kind of a combination of having. So I think with BP, it's 20%. 20% of your time is dedicated study time, and so my friends, they have 20% of their week, so one day off to study, and then occasionally they go off to university. Whilst with me, I know that my university is going to be completely virtual. So every week I will have a day off, just to do that degree every week.
So we've got to check back in once you've started it to see how you're managing all that then. And sort of the last question, which I always sort of love to ask, and I'm sorry, Tom, for putting you on the spot a little bit here. But if you did have one piece of advice to give everyone who is taking the time out of their evening, and hopefully we'll be seeing you all in BP very soon, what little bit of advice would you give to them or give yourself?
Yeah, I'd just say, if you're nervous about the interviews, just look, they're asking about your personality. If you're a good person, they'll love you. Just show what a great person you are and why they should hire you. They're not worried about, that's why I loved it so much. They're not worried about your academic skills. You've never been in this sort of work experience before. So they're just really after how you operate, how your mind works, and who you are as a person.
Great, thank you. Now, I know there's a couple of questions that we didn't get down to, but I've made a note of all of them. And as I said, I will definitely sort of pass that on to the team at BP, as well as all the questions that you've sent me directly. But I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Rupali, Robin and Tom. This was hopefully really, really insightful and useful. This will be recorded and you will get an email tomorrow with the link of the recording so you can watch it as many times as you like. But a thank you to all of you guys that have joined us this evening, and we hope you have a lovely evening. Thank you once again, and of course a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well. Thank you guys.